Captain Sarah Chen pressed her face against the cold metal of the observation deck window. The vast emptiness of space stretched before her, dotted with distant stars that had once seemed friendly. Now they felt like watching eyes, judging her species from across the galaxy. The communication array crackled to life behind her. Static filled the air before a deep alien voice cut through the interference. The universal translator worked overtime, converting the harsh syllables into words that chilled Sarah's blood. Humans of Earth. The voice boomed across every communication channel in the solar system. This is Overlord Zethkar of the Galactic Council. Your species has been found guilty of existing without permission. You have built weapons without authorization. You have expanded beyond your birth world without consultation. These actions violate 17 cosmic laws. Sarah turned from the window and walked quickly to the command center. Around her, dozens of technicians worked frantically at their stations. Admiral Marcus Rodriguez stood at the central console, his weathered face grim as he listened to the transmission. The Galactic Council has decided your fate, Zethkar continued. You will surrender all spacefaring technology immediately. You will destroy your weapons and dismantle your colonies. Any ship that leaves Earth's atmosphere after this warning will be destroyed. You have 72 Earth hours to comply. The transmission ended with a sharp burst of static. Silence filled the command center for a moment before chaos erupted. Officers shouted reports and requests. Communications specialists tried desperately to reach Earth's scattered colonies. Engineers ran diagnostics on the station's defensive systems. Admiral Rodriguez raised his hand, and the room fell quiet. "Status report," he said calmly. Lieutenant Commander Jackson stepped forward. "Sir, we've confirmed similar transmissions across all human settlements. Mars Colony, the Jupiter mining stations, the research outposts near Saturn. Everyone received the same message." Sarah felt her stomach drop. She had friends on those stations, people who had dedicated their lives to pushing humanity's boundaries. The thought of them being trapped, helpless against alien judgment, made her hands clench into fists. "What do we know about this Galactic Council?" Rodriguez asked. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the station's xenobiology expert, cleared her throat nervously. "Not much, sir. We've detected signs of ancient civilizations throughout the galaxy, but this is our first direct contact. Based on the transmission's power signature, they command technology far beyond ours." "How far beyond?" Rodriguez pressed. Dr. Vasquez hesitated. "Conservative estimate? They're at least 300 years ahead of us technologically. Their ships could glass Earth from the edge of the solar system, and we'd never see them coming." The weight of those words settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Sarah had joined the Space Force to explore the unknown, to push humanity toward a brighter future among the stars. She had never imagined they would face extinction for simply existing. "Sir," Communications Officer Park spoke up, "we're receiving incoming transmissions from Earth. President Harrison is requesting an immediate briefing with all senior officers." Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Patch him through to the secure channel." The main screen flickered to life, showing the familiar face of Earth's president. Dark circles under his eyes suggested he hadn't slept since receiving the Council's ultimatum. Behind him, Sarah could see military advisors and scientists huddled around tables covered in data charts. "Admiral," President Harrison said without preamble, "I won't sugarcoat this. Every world leader is in agreement. We cannot surrender to these demands. Dismantling our space program would set humanity back centuries. Destroying our colonies would condemn millions to death." "What are our options, Mr. President?" Rodriguez asked. Harrison's expression hardened. "We fight, but not in the way they expect." He paused, glancing at someone off screen. "Admiral, how familiar are you with Project Shadowblade?" Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. She had heard whispers about classified military projects, experimental technologies that pushed the boundaries of science and ethics. But Project Shadowblade was just a rumor, wasn't it? Rodriguez's face went pale. "Mr. President, that project was theoretical. The prototypes were never fully tested." "Desperate times, Admiral," Harrison replied. "Dr. Morgan will brief you on the specifics, but the basic concept involves stealth technology combined with adaptive combat protocols. We can't match their firepower, but we might be able to match their cunning. The screen switched to show Dr. Rebecca Morgan, a brilliant engineer Sarah recognized from military journals. Dr. Morgan looked exhausted, but determined as she began her briefing. Project Shadowblade centers on two key innovations, she explained. First, quantum stealth fields that make our ships effectively invisible to most scanning technologies. Second, AI-assisted combat systems that adapt in real time to alien tactics and technologies. Sarah leaned forward, intrigued despite the dire circumstances. How does the stealth technology work? Dr. Morgan smiled grimly. We bend light and electromagnetic radiation around our ships using controlled quantum fields. It's similar to a mirage, but much more sophisticated. The power requirements are enormous, but we've solved that problem using zero-point energy extraction. And the combat systems? Rodriguez asked. Our AIs can analyze alien technology patterns and develop countermeasures within minutes, Dr. Morgan explained. They learn from every engagement, sharing data instantly across our entire fleet. The more the aliens throw at us, the smarter we become. President Harrison returned to the screen. Admiral, I'm authorizing the immediate deployment of Shadowblade technology across our entire space fleet. Every ship, every station, every outpost will be equipped within 60 hours. That's cutting it close, sir, Rodriguez warned. It has to be enough, Harrison replied, because in 72 hours, we show these aliens that humanity doesn't bow to threats. We show them that caging Earth's children was the worst mistake they've ever made. The transmission ended, leaving the command center buzzing with activity. Sarah watched as orders flew between stations and technicians began preparing for the massive technological upgrade. Around her, she could feel the mood shifting from despair to determination. The Galactic Council thought they were dealing with a primitive species that would surrender at the first sign of superior force. They were about to learn that humans had a different response to impossible odds. Sarah walked back to the observation window and stared out at the stars. Somewhere among those distant lights, alien ships were preparing to enforce the Council's will. They expected to find a broken, submissive species begging for mercy. Instead, they would find shadows and blades waiting in the darkness between the stars. Commander Jake Sullivan watched the installation teams work with mechanical precision around his ship, the HMS Defiance. Dozens of technicians swarmed over the hull like ants, attaching strange devices that hummed with barely contained energy. The Shadowblade retrofit was happening faster than anyone had thought possible. Commander, his engineering officer, Lieutenant Torres, approached with a data pad. The stealth field generators are online, but I've never seen technology like this. The power readings are off the charts. Jake took the pad and scrolled through the technical specifications. The numbers made his head spin. Zero-point energy extraction, quantum field manipulation, neural interface combat systems. It all sounded like science fiction, but the evidence was literally being bolted to his ship. How long until we're ready for field testing? He asked. Torres checked her watch. 36 hours, sir. Dr. Morgan's team has worked out most of the integration issues, but the AI learning protocols need time to sync with our ship's systems. Through the observation window of the docking bay, Jake could see similar retrofits happening to every ship in the fleet. Destroyers, cruisers, fighters, and even the massive dreadnought Vengeance were all receiving the same mysterious upgrades. Whatever Project Shadowblade was, the military was betting humanity's future on it. His communicator buzzed. Commander Sullivan, report to Briefing Room 7 immediately. The briefing room was packed with ship commanders from across the fleet. Jake recognized most of them, veterans who had served during the Mars Independence War and the asteroid mining conflicts. These were people who understood combat, but the expressions on their faces showed they had never faced anything like this. Admiral Rodriguez stood at the front of the room beside a holographic display showing the solar system. Red dots marked known alien ship positions beyond the outer planets. There were dozens of them, each one representing firepower that could destroy an entire human fleet. Ladies and gentlemen, Rodriguez began, in 18 hours the Galactic Council's deadline expires. Intelligence suggests their enforcement fleet will enter our system shortly after. We will not be surrendering. A murmur ran through the room. Commander Helena Price from the destroyer Retribution raised her hand. Sir, with respect, our conventional weapons can barely scratch their shields. How do we fight an enemy we can't hurt? Dr. Morgan stepped forward, activating a different hologram. You won't be using conventional weapons, Commander. The Shadow Blade system gives you advantages no alien species has ever encountered. The hologram showed a ship suddenly vanishing from all scanning frequencies. First, quantum stealth. Your ships will be completely invisible to their sensors. They can't fight what they can't see. Jake leaned forward, studying the display. What about visual contact? The quantum fields bend visible light around your hull, Dr. Morgan explained. Unless they're within 50 meters, you're essentially a ghost. The display changed to show combat scenarios. Human ships appeared and disappeared like phantoms, striking alien vessels and vanishing before retaliation could arrive. Second, adaptive combat AI. Your ship's computer will analyze every alien weapon, every defensive system, every tactical pattern. It learns from each encounter and shares that knowledge instantly with the entire fleet. Commander Williams from the cruiser Stalwart spoke up. How do we know the AI won't turn against us? We've all heard the stories about artificial intelligence going rogue. Dr. Morgan smiled grimly. These AIs have neural limiters tied to human emotional patterns. They can only function with human oversight, and they're programmed with absolute loyalty to humanity's survival. They want to win this war as much as you do. Admiral Rodriguez took over the briefing. Our strategy is simple but effective. The aliens expect a conventional battle where superior firepower wins. Instead, we'll give them a guerrilla war in space, hit-and-run attacks, psychological warfare, and asymmetric tactics. The hologram showed the battle plan. Human ships would position themselves throughout the solar system, hidden and waiting. When the alien fleet arrived, they would face attacks from directions they never anticipated. The key is coordination, Rodriguez continued. Every ship's AI is connected through quantum communication links. You'll move as one organism, thinking faster than any alien commander can react. Jake felt his excitement building. This wasn't just about superior technology. It was about using human ingenuity and adaptability against an enemy that had probably grown complacent through millennia of easy victories. What about civilian populations? Commander Price asked. Earth has 4 billion people who can't evacuate in time. The alien fleet will never reach Earth, Rodriguez said with absolute certainty. We stop them in deep space, or we don't stop them at all. Dr. Morgan activated another display showing weapon specifications. You'll also be equipped with prototype plasma lances and quantum torpedoes. These weapons punch through alien shields by existing in multiple dimensional phases simultaneously. The technical explanation went over Jake's head, but the demonstration video was clear enough. The new weapons tore through alien hull material like paper, creating devastating explosions that collapsed entire sections of enemy ships. Remember, Dr. Morgan added, the AI will handle most tactical calculations, but human intuition and creativity are your greatest weapons. The aliens have fought countless species, but they've never fought humans. Commander Chen from the carrier Independence raised her hand. What makes us so special? Admiral Rodriguez stepped forward, his eyes blazing with determination. Every species the Galactic Council has conquered surrendered when faced with superior force. They accepted their place in the alien hierarchy. But humans, we've never accepted impossible as an answer. He gestured to the star map. We went from flintlock muskets to spaceflight in 300 years. We split the atom, mapped our genome, and built artificial intelligence in the span of a single century. When other species see overwhelming odds, they surrender. When humans see overwhelming odds, we get creative. The room fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. Jake looked around at his fellow commanders and saw the same realization dawning on their faces. This wasn't just about advanced technology. It was about proving that humanity deserved its place among the stars. Final questions? Rodriguez asked. Commander Torres from the frigate Phantom spoke up. Sir, what if we lose? What if the Shadow Blade technology isn't enough? Rodriguez's expression hardened. Then we make sure our sacrifice teaches the galaxy that enslaving humanity comes at a price. Every alien ship we destroy sends a message. Earth's children don't go quietly into the night. The briefing ended with a sense of purpose Jake had never felt before. As the commanders filed out to return to their ships, he caught Dr. Morgan's arm. "Doctor, can this technology really make us invisible to their sensors?" She looked at him seriously. "Commander, their sensors can't detect something that technically doesn't exist in their dimensional framework. As far as alien physics is concerned, your ship will be a quantum ghost." Jake nodded and headed back to the Defiance. Around him, the frantic preparations continued. Technicians finished their installations, supply crews loaded exotic ammunition, and communications specialists established the quantum links that would bind the human fleet together. In 16 hours, the aliens would arrive expecting to find a broken species ready to surrender. Instead, they would find shadows armed with blades, waiting in the darkness between worlds. Fleet Admiral Kethmore stood on the bridge of the massive dreadnought Cosmic Authority, watching the primitive solar system grow larger on the main display. His forearms moved gracefully as he operated multiple control interfaces simultaneously, coordinating the largest enforcement fleet the Galactic Council had assembled in 3 centuries. "Status report," he commanded in the clicking, whistling language of his species. Commander Yeathful approached, her crystalline skin reflecting the bridge's blue lighting. "All 200 vessels report ready, Admiral. Long-range sensors show no sign of human military activity. Their ships appear to be docked at various stations throughout the system." Kethmore's mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among his kind. As expected, these mammals lack the spine to resist proper authority. "Have they responded to our ultimatum?" "No formal surrender has been transmitted, but their ships remain stationary. Intelligence suggests they are paralyzed by fear." The Admiral studied the tactical display. 12 years ago, the Council had detected radio transmissions from this backwater system. Follow-up surveillance revealed a species that had barely achieved faster-than-light travel, yet possessed an alarming tendency toward violence and expansion. The decision to cage them had been unanimous. "Begin standard enforcement protocol," Kethmore ordered. "Destroy any ship that attempts to flee, disable their orbital installations, and prepare landing forces for surface occupation." The fleet spread into attack formation as they entered the outer solar system. Kethmore felt satisfaction watching the precisely choreographed movement of ships that had conquered 17 star systems. This would be the 18th and certainly the easiest. His satisfaction lasted exactly 47 seconds. "Admiral," Yithaval's voice carried urgent alarm. Massive energy signatures detected throughout the system. Multiple ships decloaking directly ahead. The main display erupted in chaos. Where empty space had existed moments before, dozens of human vessels materialized as if emerging from another dimension. They moved with impossible coordination, their formations seeming to flow like liquid mercury. "How is this possible?" Kethmore demanded. "Our sensors detected nothing." Before Yithval could respond, the human ships opened fire. Brilliant beams of plasma lanced across space, striking the leading Council vessels with devastating accuracy. The weapons punched through advanced shields as if they were soap bubbles, carving deep wounds in hulls that had withstood the firepower of a dozen conquered species. "Return fire!" Kethmore roared. "All batteries, engage enemy vessels!" The Council fleet unleashed its devastating arsenal. Particle beams, quantum disruptors, and graviton missiles streaked toward the human ships, but their targets had already vanished, disappearing as suddenly as they had appeared. "Where did they go?" Kethmore's voice carried growing confusion and anger. "Unknown, sir. They're not registering on any sensor array. It's as if they never existed." The human ships reappeared from a completely different direction, their weapons carving through the rear guard before vanishing again. 3 Council destroyers exploded in brilliant flashes, their debris spinning away into the void. Aboard the HMS Defiance, Commander Sullivan watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. The AI's voice spoke directly into his neural interface, its tone calm and precise. "Enemy formation analysis complete. Alien vessels show standard configuration patterns. Predictable firing solutions detected. Recommend hit-and-run tactics to maximize psychological impact." "Agreed," Jake replied silently. "Coordinate with the fleet. Let's show them how humans fight." The Shadowblade AI network processed information at superhuman speeds. Every alien ship movement, every weapon discharge, Every tactical decision was analyzed and shared instantly among the human fleet. The AIs learned from each exchange, growing smarter with every passing second. "Sir," Lieutenant Torres reported, "the stealth fields are performing beyond expectations. The aliens can't track us even when we're firing." Jake nodded, watching as another group of human ships emerged from quantum stealth to savage a council cruiser. The alien vessel's shields collapsed under concentrated plasma fire, its hull cracking like an egg. Pattern recognition suggests alien commanders are experiencing panic responses, the AI informed him. "Recommend increasing pressure to induce tactical errors." The battle escalated as more human ships joined the fray. They struck from impossible angles, appearing behind enemy formations and disappearing before retaliation could arrive. The Council fleet, designed for overwhelming force against stationary targets, found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to stay still long enough to be hit. Admiral Kethmore watched his tactical display in growing horror. 23 ships had been destroyed or disabled in the first hour of combat, while not a single human vessel had taken significant damage. His fleet's superior firepower was useless against an enemy they couldn't target. "Tactical analysis," he demanded. Yithval's voice shook as she read the data. "Sir, the humans appear to be using some form of dimensional phase technology. They exist in our space-time only when attacking, then shift to an alternate dimensional framework." "That's impossible. No species has ever developed such technology." "The evidence suggests otherwise, Admiral. Additionally, their weapons are adapting to our defensive systems. Each attack is more effective than the last." Kethmore's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. In 12 years of enforcement actions, he had never encountered resistance like this. The mammals were supposed to be primitive, limited to crude chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. "Send an emergency transmission to the Council," he ordered. "Request immediate reinforcements. Maximum priority." "Sir, the nearest Council fleet is 6 days away." "Then we hold the line for 6 days," Kethmore declared, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. The human attacks intensified. Ships appeared in perfect formation, unleashing coordinated strikes that overwhelmed alien point defenses. Their timing was inhuman in its precision, their tactics flowing like water around enemy positions. Aboard the HMS Retribution, Commander Price watched her plasma lances tear through an alien battlecruiser's armor. The AI's constant tactical updates allowed her to anticipate enemy movements before the alien commanders even made them. "Ma'am," her weapons officer reported, "the aliens are trying to reorganize into defensive formations. They're grouping their ships for mutual support." Price smiled coldly. "Show them why that won't work. All ships, implement dispersal pattern Omega." The human fleet scattered across 3 dimensions, their stealth fields making them impossible to track. Then they converged on the alien formation from every direction simultaneously, their attacks so perfectly timed that the alien ships found themselves caught in their own crossfire. The psychological impact was devastating. Council crews, trained to expect easy victories over primitive species, found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to know their every move before they made it. Panic spread through the alien fleet as ship after ship fell to ghostly attackers. Admiral Kethmore realized with growing dread that his enforcement fleet was being systematically destroyed. These humans fought with a combination of advanced technology and tactical brilliance that surpassed anything in Council records. "New contacts," Yithval suddenly announced. "Human reinforcements emerging from stealth throughout the system. Sir, they have us completely surrounded." The main display showed the truth of her words. Hundreds of human ships had appeared like specters from the void, their formations encompassing the entire Council fleet in a sphere of death. For the first time in his career, Fleet Admiral Kethmore faced the possibility of total defeat. The primitive mammals had become apex predators, and his mighty fleet had become prey caught in an elaborate trap. The Council's enforcement action was turning into a massacre, and there was nowhere to run. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in chaos. Representatives from 47 species filled the vast crystalline chamber, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, harmonics, and electromagnetic pulses. At the center of the chamber, the massive holographic display showed the tactical situation in the Sol system. Overlord Zethkar's towering form dominated the speaker's platform. His 6 legs moved nervously as he processed the incoming reports. This was not how enforcement actions were supposed to proceed. Silence, his voice boomed through the chamber's translation systems. The various alien representatives fell quiet, their attention focused on the display. Fleet Admiral Kethmore, report status, Zethkar commanded. The hologram flickered to show the battered bridge of the Cosmic Authority. Kethmore's once pristine uniform was torn and stained with alien blood equivalent. Behind him, sparks flew from damaged consoles. Overlord, the enforcement fleet has sustained 70% casualties. The humans possess technology beyond our current understanding. They strike from dimensional phase states our sensors cannot penetrate. A ripple of alarm passed through the council chamber. Representative Vothnan of the Crystalline Collective vibrated her question in subsonic frequencies. How is this possible? Our intelligence indicated primitive chemical propulsion and crude nuclear weapons. Our intelligence was either incomplete or deliberately falsified, Kethmore replied grimly. These mammals have developed stealth technology that renders them effectively invisible. Their weapons adapt in real time to counter our defenses. Most disturbing of all, they fight with perfect coordination across hundreds of vessels. Supreme Counselor Zerath of the Elder Dominion extended his tentacles in a gesture of confusion. No species develop such capabilities without guidance from established galactic powers. Who could have taught them? That's what disturbs me most, Zethkar admitted. The human technology appears to be completely original. They've independently developed capabilities that took the rest of us millennia to achieve. The chamber erupted in agitated communications. Some species expressed disbelief, others demanded immediate action. The small, butterfly-like harmonizers sang warnings about dangerous precedents, while the massive rock speakers ground out demands for overwhelming force. Representative Kyle Theta of the Void Watchers floated closer to the display. Her species had monitored galactic space for eons, and her words carried special weight. Council members, she spoke in harmonious tones that needed no translation. I have observed this species for their entire spacefaring history. They are unlike any we have previously encountered. Explain, Zethkar commanded. Kyle Theta gestured and the display changed to show human history. Most species follow predictable development patterns. They achieve faster-than-light travel, establish colonies, then stagnate for centuries while learning their limitations. Humans have done none of this. The display showed humanity's explosive expansion into space. In their first century of spaceflight, they established permanent colonies on 6 worlds and mining operations throughout their system. They developed artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and genetic manipulation simultaneously. Their technological progress follows an exponential curve we have never witnessed. They are also uniquely adaptable, she continued. When faced with the vacuum of space, they built habitats. When faced with radiation, they developed protection. When faced with our ultimatum, they created weapons we cannot counter. Every obstacle becomes a challenge to overcome rather than a barrier to accept. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Supreme Counselor Zerath spoke first. Are you suggesting these humans represent an evolutionary anomaly? I am stating it as fact, Kyle Theta replied. Their neural patterns show unprecedented creativity and problem-solving capabilities. Combined with their aggressive expansion, instincts and pack-bonding behaviors, they represent a fundamental shift in galactic evolution. Back in the Sol system, Commander Sullivan coordinated the final phase of the human counterattack. The alien fleet was broken, scattered, and demoralized. But instead of pressing for total annihilation, the human forces had received new orders. All ships maintain containment positions but cease offensive operations. Admiral Rodriguez's voice crackled over the quantum communication network. We're about to deliver a different kind of message. Jake watched as his tactical display showed the surviving alien ships clustering together in a defensive formation. They were trapped, surrounded by invisible human vessels unable to escape or effectively fight back. Sir, Lieutenant Torres reported, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's being broadcast on all frequencies, aimed directly at the alien fleet. The transmission began with the clear, authoritative voice of President Harrison. But the words that followed were not in English. They were in the same alien language the Council had used for their ultimatum. Overlord Zethkar and members of the Galactic Council, Harrison's translated voice carried across space. This is President Harrison of the United Earth Government. Your enforcement fleet has been defeated, but we offer terms for their survival. Jake smiled grimly. Humanity's artificial intelligence had not only analyzed alien tactics and technology. During the battle, it had also decoded their language systems from intercepted communications. We know you can hear this transmission, Harrison continued. We know you expected to find a primitive species cowering before your superior technology. Instead, you have discovered that humanity does not surrender to threats, regardless of their source. The display showed the alien ships remaining motionless, surrounded by human vessels they could neither see nor fight. However, we are not monsters. Harrison's voice carried a note of steel wrapped in velvet. We offer the following terms. Your surviving ships will be escorted to the edge of our system and allowed to leave unharmed. In exchange, you will carry this message back to your council. Jake leaned forward, eager to hear humanity's response to the Council's ultimatum. Humanity claims the Sol System and all worlds we currently inhabit as sovereign territory under our protection. Any attempt to interfere with human expansion, trade, or governance will be considered an act of war. We seek peaceful coexistence with all species, but we will defend ourselves with overwhelming force if threatened. The transmission paused, allowing the weight of the words to sink in. We have demonstrated that your technological superiority is an illusion. Our weapons can destroy your ships, our stealth technology can hide our movements, and our adaptive systems learn from every encounter. If you force us to choose between submission and war, we choose war. Jake felt a surge of pride in his species. Humanity had been handed an ultimatum demanding their surrender, and their response was to issue a counter-ultimatum backed by proven military capability. However, Harrison continued, we prefer cooperation to conflict. We offer the Council a different arrangement. Recognize humanity as an independent spacefaring species with full rights to explore, expand, and develop as we choose. In return, we will share certain technologies that might benefit the galaxy. The offer was calculated perfectly. Humanity dangled advanced technology as a carrot while wielding military superiority as a stick. You have 72 hours to respond, Harrison concluded, using the same time frame the aliens had given Earth. During this period, your surviving ships will be allowed to leave unmolested. After that deadline, any Council vessel entering human space will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. The transmission ended, leaving the alien fleet trapped in a sphere of invisible human ships. The survivors faced a choice: return to the Council as defeated messengers or remain as prisoners of a species that had just rewritten the rules of galactic politics. Admiral Kethmore stared at his tactical display, trying to process what had just happened. His enforcement fleet had been defeated by a species the Council considered barely worthy of notice. Now those same primitive mammals were dictating terms to the most powerful organization in the galaxy. For the first time in his career, the Admiral wondered if the Council had made a terrible mistake. The humans had proven they could fight when cornered. But the real question was, what would they do when they felt secure enough to take the offensive? The emergency evacuation of the Council fleet began under the watchful eyes of invisible human ships. Admiral Kethmore stood on his damaged bridge, watching his proud armada limp toward the edge of the Sol system like wounded animals fleeing a predator. "Status of the fleet?" he asked wearily. Commander Yithval consulted her damage reports with shaking hands. 47 ships remain operational enough for faster-than-light travel. 53 vessels are total losses. The dreadnought Galactic Dominion suffered complete systems failure and had to be abandoned. Kethmore's mandibles clicked in grief. In a single day, the humans had destroyed more Council ships than the last 5 enforcement actions combined. The psychological impact would reverberate throughout the galaxy for generations. "Sir," the communications officer announced, "we're receiving another transmission from the human leadership. It's marked for immediate relay to the Council." "Put it through," Kethmore ordered, though he dreaded what new surprises the mammals might reveal. The transmission opened with visual data that made every alien on the bridge freeze in shock. The humans had captured detailed scanner readings of every Council ship, complete technical specifications, crew complements, and weapon systems. Information that should have been impossible to obtain was laid out with clinical precision. Dr. Rebecca Morgan's voice accompanied the data stream. This intelligence package contains everything we learned about Council technology during our recent encounter. We're sharing this information as a gesture of goodwill and a demonstration of our capabilities. Kethmore stared at the technical readouts in horror. The humans had analyzed his fleet's technology down to the molecular level during the battle, extracting secrets that had taken the Council centuries to develop. We've identified 47 critical vulnerabilities in your ship designs, Dr. Morgan continued. Most concerning is your reliance on centralized computer systems. A simple virus introduced into your network would disable your entire fleet. The Admiral felt his blood chill. The humans were casually revealing that they could have destroyed the Council fleet through cyber warfare, rather than direct combat. They had chosen to fight conventionally as a demonstration of strength, not necessity. We've also analyzed your faster-than-light communication protocols. The transmission continued. We can now intercept and decode any message sent through Council networks. Your strategic plans, fleet movements, and diplomatic communications are no longer secure. The implications hit Kethmore like a physical blow. If the humans could read Council communications, they would know about every military operation, every enforcement action, every strategic decision before it was implemented. Finally, Dr. Morgan's voice carried a note of almost casual interest. We've reverse-engineered your gravity manipulation technology and improved it by approximately 300%. Our ships can now achieve faster-than-light speeds that exceed anything in your fleet by a factor of 10. The transmission ended with a simple message. Consider this information when formulating your response to our terms. Kethmore slumped in his command chair, overwhelmed by the magnitude of humanity's technological achievement. In a single battle, they had leaped ahead of civilizations that had existed for millennia. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Harrison convened an emergency meeting with his top military and scientific advisors. The success of Operation Shadowblade had exceeded everyone's expectations, but the real work was just beginning. Report from the Intelligence Division, Dr. Morgan announced, consulting her datapad. Analysis of captured alien technology reveals several interesting facts about the Galactic Council. She activated a holographic display showing the galaxy's political structure. The Council controls approximately 400 star systems through a combination of technological superiority and fear. Most member species were conquered centuries ago and have since been integrated into a rigid hierarchical system. Admiral Rodriguez leaned forward. What about their military capabilities? Impressive by conventional standards but fundamentally flawed, Dr. Morgan replied. They've grown complacent after centuries of easy victories. Their tactics are predictable, their technology has stagnated, and they lack the adaptability that defines human military doctrine. Harrison studied the galactic map with calculating eyes. What's their response time for reinforcements? Based on their communication intercepts, the nearest significant fleet is approximately 3 weeks away. However, there's something more interesting in the intelligence data. The display zoomed in on specific star systems. 17 systems have sent secret communications expressing dissatisfaction with Council rule. 3 species have explicitly requested information about human military technology. I believe we've inspired the first galactic rebellion in over 2 centuries. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's demonstration of strength hadn't just defeated an alien fleet. It had shattered the myth of Council invincibility across the galaxy. Recommendations? Harrison asked. General Patricia Stevens, the President's military advisor, spoke first. We need to expand our fleet immediately. The Council will eventually respond with overwhelming force, and we need to be ready. Agreed, Dr. Morgan added. But we also have an opportunity here. If we can coordinate with the dissatisfied species, we might be able to create a coalition that challenges Council authority throughout the galaxy. Harrison nodded thoughtfully. What about our technological advantages? How long can we maintain our edge? Indefinitely, if we continue innovating, Dr. Morgan replied. The Shadowblade technology is just the beginning. Our AI systems are already developing new weapons and defensive systems based on alien technology. Every encounter makes us stronger. The President turned to Admiral Rodriguez. Admiral, I want you to prepare for the next phase of operations. If the Council refuses our terms, we take the fight to them. What are your orders, sir? Harrison's expression hardened with determination. We build a fleet capable of projecting power throughout the galaxy. We make contact with species oppressed by the Council. And we prepare to teach the galaxy that humanity doesn't just defend its territory. We liberate others who want freedom. The meeting concluded with a sense of purpose that would have terrified the Council if they had witnessed it. Humanity wasn't content to simply survive the alien threat. They intended to reshape the galactic political order. Back in Council space, Overlord Zethkar received Admiral Kethmore's full report with growing alarm. The humans had not only defeated a major enforcement fleet, but had done so with technology that surpassed the Council's best systems. Analysis suggests we face an unprecedented threat, the Admiral concluded. These humans adapt and innovate at rates we cannot match. If we give them time to fully mobilize, they may become unstoppable. Zethkar's appendages writhed in agitation. Recommendations for response? Complete mobilization of Council forces, Kethmore replied grimly. Every available ship, every allied species, every weapon in our arsenal. We must crush humanity before they can inspire others to rebellion. The Overlord considered this carefully. A full mobilization would drain resources from across the galaxy and potentially expose the Council to challenges from other ambitious species. But the alternative, allowing humanity to continue developing their capabilities, might lead to the complete collapse of galactic order. Very well, Zethkar decided. Issue mobilization orders to all sectors. We will assemble a fleet of 2,000 ships and end this human threat permanently. As the orders went out across the galaxy, neither the Council nor humanity fully understood the magnitude of the conflict they were about to unleash. The galaxy stood on the brink of a war that would determine whether ancient tyranny or revolutionary freedom would shape the future of countless worlds. The humans had struck back with shadows and blades, but the real battle was just beginning. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. The Council's attempt at total mobilization had backfired spectacularly, as oppressed species across hundreds of systems rose in coordinated rebellion. The myth of Council invincibility lay shattered, and humanity stood at the center of the greatest galactic revolution in recorded history. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned dreadnought Terra's Wrath, watching the final phase of Operation Liberation unfold. Around her flagship, nearly 300 human vessels moved in perfect formation, their quantum stealth fields creating an invisible armada that existed between dimensions. Final status report, she commanded. Commander Sullivan, now promoted to fleet captain, consulted the tactical displays. All objectives achieved, Admiral. The Council's primary fleet has been neutralized and their command structure on Zethkar Prime is completely compromised. The battle had lasted 18 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Human technology had evolved beyond the Council's ability to counter, and their alien allies had provided crucial intelligence about Council weaknesses. Losses? Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. Minimal. 3 ships with minor damage, no casualties. Our stealth technology and adaptive combat systems performed flawlessly. Chen nodded with satisfaction. The Shadowblade project had grown into something far beyond its original scope. Human ships didn't just hide from enemy sensors. They existed in quantum superposition states that allowed them to phase through solid matter when necessary. Their weapons had evolved to manipulate the fundamental forces of reality itself. Ma'am, the communications officer announced, we're receiving surrender transmissions from all remaining Council forces. Overlord Zethkar is requesting terms. Put him through, Chen ordered. The main display flickered to show the once mighty alien leader. Zethkar's imposing form was diminished, his 6 legs shaking with exhaustion and defeat. Behind him, the Council chamber showed signs of battle damage and alien corpses. Admiral Chen, Zethkar's translated voice carried desperate resignation. The Galactic Council formally surrenders to human forces. We request mercy for civilian populations and non-combatant species. Chen studied the broken alien leader with a mixture of satisfaction and pity. 6 months ago, this creature had threatened to cage humanity like animals. Now he begged for mercy from the very species he had tried to destroy. Your surrender is noted, Overlord, Chen replied formally. However, humanity is not interested in replacing the Council's tyranny with our own. Our terms are simple: immediate dissolution of the Council's authority, release of all enslaved species, and establishment of a galactic federation based on voluntary cooperation rather than forced submission. Zethkar's mandibles clicked in confusion. You do not wish to rule the galaxy? We wish to free it, Chen corrected. Humanity believes that every sentient species has the right to determine its own destiny. The age of galactic empires ends today. As the formal surrender negotiations continued, the scope of humanity's victory became clear. The rebellion had succeeded beyond all expectations. 17 species had declared independence from Council rule. 12 more had requested human protection while they rebuilt their devastated civilizations. 3 ancient species that had hidden in remote systems for millennia had emerged to offer alliance and support. On Earth, President Harrison addressed the planet and the growing human colonies throughout the galaxy. His words were translated into hundreds of languages and broadcast to every world touched by the revolution. My fellow humans and our new allies across the galaxy, he began. 6 months ago, we faced extinction at the hands of those who claimed the right to judge our species. Today we have not only secured our survival, but helped liberate countless worlds from centuries of oppression. The president paused, looking directly into the camera with the weight of history in his eyes. But our work is not finished. The Galactic Council's collapse has created a power vacuum that ambitious species might try to fill. We must remain vigilant, continue developing our capabilities, and stand ready to defend freedom wherever it is threatened. He gestured to a star map showing the extent of human influence. Humanity will establish the Terran Federation as an alliance of free species, committed to mutual defense and cooperation. We offer membership to any civilization that shares our values of individual liberty, scientific progress, and peaceful coexistence. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, 47 species had requested Federation membership. Ancient civilizations that had remained neutral for millennia offered technology exchanges and mutual defense pacts. Even former Council loyalists began reaching out to discuss terms for integration into the new galactic order. Dr. Rebecca Morgan, now Director of Galactic Technology Integration, presented her final report to the Federation Council. The data she shared would have been impossible to imagine just months earlier. Our reverse engineering of Council technology has yielded remarkable results, she announced to the assembled representatives of dozens of species. We've identified the fundamental limitations that kept galactic civilization stagnant for millennia. She activated a holographic display showing technological progression charts. Council species focused on perfection of existing systems rather than innovation. Their technology peaked centuries ago and remained essentially unchanged. Humanity's approach of constant adaptation and improvement represents a paradigm shift in galactic development. A delegate from the crystalline harmonizer species sang a question in harmonic frequencies. The translator converted it to standard galactic. What technologies will humanity share with Federation members? Dr. Morgan smiled. Everything. Our philosophy is that technological advancement benefits everyone. We're prepared to share quantum stealth systems, adaptive AI networks, dimensional phase technology, and reality manipulation weapons with any Federation member willing to use them responsibly. The other chamber erupted in excited communications as species realized they would have access to technology that had defeated the galaxy's most powerful empire. But Dr. Morgan wasn't finished. More importantly, we're sharing our research methodologies. We'll teach other species how to innovate, how to adapt, how to push beyond the boundaries of what they thought possible. The goal is to ensure that the galaxy never again stagnates under the weight of artificial limitations. Meanwhile, in the Outer Rim territories, Captain Torres led a fleet of human exploration vessels on a mission that would have been impossible under Council rule. They were searching for signs of intelligent life beyond the known galaxy, preparing to make contact with civilizations that might exist in distant star clusters. Sensors are picking up structured radio transmissions from the Andromeda approach vector, her science officer reported. The patterns suggest artificial origin. Torres felt a familiar thrill of discovery. Humanity had spent centuries wondering if they were alone in the universe. They had learned they were surrounded by intelligent life, fought a war to secure their place among the stars, and liberated half the galaxy in the process. Now they were about to discover that the galaxy itself might be just one small part of a much larger community of intelligent species. "Prepare a standard first contact package," she ordered. "Include our technological capabilities, our philosophy of cooperation, and our offer of peaceful exchange. Let them know that humanity comes in friendship, not conquest." As the message was prepared for transmission across the intergalactic void, Torres reflected on how far her species had come. 6 months ago, they had been facing extinction. Today, they were preparing to introduce themselves to entirely new galaxies as representatives of a free federation spanning hundreds of systems. The Council's warning had indeed rung through the stars, but it had awakened something far more dangerous than they had imagined. Humanity had struck back with shadows and blades, but their victory had lit a fire of freedom that would burn across the cosmos for generations to come. The age of tyranny was ending. The age of exploration, cooperation, and unlimited possibility was just beginning, and at its heart stood a species that had refused to accept limitations, turned their cage into a fortress, and transformed their executioners into allies. Humanity had learned to walk among the stars not as conquerors but as liberators. The galaxy would never be the same.